Good morning. No. Oh, I was just saying in my head, it's good afternoon. We've just ticked over 12 o'clock. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Adobe Live. It's been a little while since I've been this side of the screen, but welcome, everyone. Today I'm joined by my favorite German animator, Robert Hranitzky.
Thank you, Joe. It's so nice to be
Yeah,
here again.
we've only done one stream before, but I have to say, of all of the streams that I've done, I probably learned the most on things that I was like, I don't want to say I was well adept at, but it's something that just really got into me of this is something that I want to learn even further and even further. And that, of course, is After Effects. You are a magician when it comes to that, and you do it with ease, without sweating. I can't believe how big some of your projects are, and you're just like, yeah, it's fine, it's fine.
Oh, believe me, I'm sweating.
That is the power of remote. We do not have internet-based sweat. So
Yeah.
Anyway, today we are going to be going through some of the new features that have arrived in After Effects and Premiere Pro. If you aren't aware, by the way, update your apps. There's new versions that came out as part of Adobe Max. And yeah, you should have those access in your Creative Cloud app, so you can go and browse all the new features. There's quite a few things in terms of performance, which I think we are both very excited for. And we've got a few extra sort of like little features that we can show through. And there is also a bit of a pre-made video from the great Jason Levine running through some of the sort of top overall features, and we can discuss those. Yeah, so how do we want to do it? When do we want to show this video?
I think let's show it at the beginning, because I mean, I think we were just discussing, when to show it at the beginning or the end. I mean, there's pros and cons for both. But I think to show it in the beginning, I think it sets the mood right, and also gives you a little bit of a good overview. We can deep dive certainly, and also share our experiences. So it's not so much promo-ish, but rather production experience-ish. So we can share a couple of things we learned along the way while using it in both the production version as well as the beta version. So I'd say we run it for here. But before we do that, thank you for your kind words, Joe. It's I feel very flattered and honored. And so it's always good to hear that it does something to to the people that that watch and listen, and no matter if it's the host like you, or if it's our guests watching online, wherever they are. That's the main reason why we're doing what we're doing, apart from the creative work, the sharing and the training, and the just giving back some of the experiences and tips and things that we learned along the way. So
absolutely,
it's good to hear. It resonates.
Yeah, no, I remember the chat was pretty engaged in that one. And speaking of which, if you are watching this on YouTube, then that's cool. You can carry on watching there. However, if you want to get involved with the chat and you want to ask us questions and other things, all of that is based on Behance. So you can come join us on Behance, and you can join in with the chat. Plenty of people there already. A few familiar faces, and again, it's been a while since I've been on a stream, so it's nice to catch up. Hello to Sean, Stuart, Andreas, Jane, Oliver, Angus, Linda. It's scrolling and I can't quite reach it. Gareth is in there and various other people. And now I need to scroll to the bottom. Right. Yeah, so welcome everyone, and welcome over to Behance if you want to join in with the chat. And let's run through that video that sums up all of the newer features for Adobe After Effects and Premiere Pro.
Hello everyone, today I'm here to share with you some incredible new features in Premiere Pro and After Effects. I'm going to start by showcasing a brand new import experience that we've been developing as part of the Premiere Pro beta with you, the community. So I've been creating this highlight reel featuring some of the awesome guests that I've had on my various Adobe Live shows. And in this new import experience, you're going to notice that it's all about media first. All of our supported file formats front and center. I've got my connected devices and drives along the left-hand side here. And as I begin selecting my content here, you'll see that it begins building a little timeline down below. Directly from this view, I can place all of this content discreetly into a new bin. I can even build my sequence directly from here. And when I click on Import, it brings me directly into Premiere Pro, so I can just begin editing and telling my story. So, super cool. Now let's talk about captioning. So as I mentioned, this is a collection of different guests that I've featured on my various Adobe Live shows. And if I were to transcribe and caption this manually, this would take an enormous amount of time. Let's instead use speech to text and the incredible power of auto transcription to do this for us. So directly from within the text panel, I'm simply going to click on Create Transcription. When I do that, all I need to do is choose the language that's spoken. I have an option here to even recognize when different speakers are talking. Click Transcribe. It's going to process that in the background and deliver to us a fully editable and time-coded transcript. So if I wanted to verify where my guest JB was saying absolutely true,
absolutely true,
or where my guest Aaron was saying something about design,
I can tell you.
Just like that, I can navigate to those individual words, make those changes, finesse this, and get it perfect so that when I'm ready to create my captions, directly from this panel, I click on Create Captions. Once again, it processes in the background. Check it out.
Hi everyone, Jason Levine here. So I thought it would be cool to...
Yes! Okay, so now I want to customize these. I don't want my captions to look like everyone else's. I want to use my branded captions. Well, you can do this easily with the Essential Graphics panel. So I'm simply going to highlight this caption block here, go into Essential Graphics, where we can do virtually anything to this that we have here in Essential Graphics. I can change the font. I can change the fill color. Maybe we want to move to something like a pale yellow, something like this. I can add a background bounding box. I can add a drop shadow. I can even use customized track styles that I've built in other projects to, again, bring my brand consistency and look to my captions here. And there simply has never been a better way to transcribe and caption your content to give it the greatest access regardless of where people are watching it. Let's talk motion graphics. You can't have a video these days without some kind of motion graphics. So I've been compiling a series of different graphical elements, including things like lower thirds, which you can see here, some of these provided by Adobe stock, a couple of different transitional elements. I even managed to acquire the original Adobe Live intro, which was created by the awesome designers at Oddfellows. Now, of course, I would need to render all of this out and bring it back into my Premiere Pro project. And this is where really we spend an enormous amount of time. This is why I'm so excited to tell you that today we are introducing multi-frame rendering in After Effects. Multi-frame rendering accelerates every part of your production process and in many cases up to 3 times faster than before. With speculative preview, as you can see here, it begins rendering in the background as you continue to work on other parts of the design. If you pay attention to the bottom left here, this is what we call the composition profiler, which graphically displays individual layer render times as well as effects renders within a layer. The redesigned render queue now gives you more graphical information, including showcasing how many frames are rendering simultaneously, and you now even have the option to send notifications directly to your mobile device when the renders are done. So once the renders are done, now it's time to share out for commenting and review. And as some of you already know, we have recently welcomed Frame.io to the Adobe family. With Frame.io, it's incredibly easy to share your content directly from within Premiere to anyone. They can then open that content in a browser. They don't have to have Premiere, and they can start marking it up and making comments, like the ones that my friend Serge made here. Okay, I need to check the lighting there. Here he actually did a little markup and is verifying what type of synth that is. But here's the amazing thing. All of those comments, all of those markups will actually appear directly inside of Premiere Pro as well, allowing me to make those changes, finesse that edit, and share it with the world. And these are just some of the awesome innovations in video. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jason. Now, video has traditionally been one of the most collaborative, creative mediums. But the huge file sizes of most videos has made collaboration on post-production tough for any team that's not all sitting together in the same studio. That is, it was hard until Frame.io debuted a few years ago. Frame.io's elegant and efficient cloud-native platform makes reviewing and commenting on video super simple, which is why we are so excited to welcome Frame.io to the Adobe family. Joining me today is Emery Wells, one of the co-founders of Frame.io, who I'm excited to work with as he leads Frame.io and video collaboration at Adobe. So Emery, thanks for being with us at Max. Tell me about the origin of Frame.io back in 2015. What problems were you trying to solve with this new platform?
Well, first of all, thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. It's my first Adobe Max. So back in 2015, my co-founder and I actually started building Frame.io as an internal tool at my previous company. So I owned a post-production company, and I had been in post-production for over a decade. So we started building Frame.io really just to solve the problems that we were having, collaborating with our clients, collaborating with each other. We realized that we weren't the only ones that were having these challenges. Really, everyone that made video was having the exact same challenges, and now here we are.
Well, I've been a huge fan of Frame.io for quite some time. I've always loved the product, but also when we talk to customers of ours that use the product, it's just their love for the detail and the precision and just the elegance of it really struck us. So can you talk to us a little bit about where you see all this going? What do you see for the future of Frame.io?
So over the next couple of months, we have some exciting updates. We have a major security update coming before the end of the year. We have customers that are depending on Frame.io to keep their content secure, and so we're adding DRM to a host of other security features that we have, like Watermark ID that we launched last year. And we have a bold vision that the future of video capture is going to be directly to the cloud, and we're going to be introducing new partners to our camera to cloud ecosystem before the end of the year. And then longer term, we've been hard at work at building the next version of Frame.io, which we think is going to be the future of how video gets made. And so that'll be out later next year. But of course, our team is super excited to release it to the world.
Well, we're really excited about that vision. Thank you again for being with us at Max. And we at Adobe hope to help you bring all of this to the next level and make sure that we pioneer the future of video together.
Likewise.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Scott.
Well, there we go. Plenty of updates there. I don't think I can speak as many words per minute as Jason can. But yeah, quite a lot to digest there. So hopefully we can jump into some of the details of some of the finer features that have been released. There are a couple of mentions in there that I believe are still in the beta. So they will be coming throughout the year. So yeah, we will go through what is currently available in the new version. Rob, should we jump over to your screen first and run through some After Effects magic?
Let's go. Yeah. Thank you all for the warm welcome in the chat. I also joined the chat and I saw some requests that I should spill all the After Effects secrets, which I gladly do. Well, I can spill all of them because then we would have to cancel the show. But certainly there will be a couple of tips and tricks in there and insights and things that we have experienced. I want to start out with something that that probably a lot of people don't know before actually showing any performance stuff, because I just needed that recently and also saw it mentioned on Twitter and reminded me of that feature. And don't ask me when it was introduced because I don't know. However, it is great. And the first thing I would like to show is if you have something that has a transparency that has transparency information in there. Let's say you have a graphic like the star here, and you don't know if it is transparent or on a black background. There's no way to see that other than double click that and then show the transparency grid here, which is sometimes a little bit of a nuisance to do that constantly. So an easier way is actually going in here and clicking on that little sandwich here. And then you'll have thumbnail transparency grid, and you can then see, voila, like in Photoshop, you have the transparency, which will help you to see if that thing, that object, that footage element is with transparency or not. So this will save you quite some time, I suppose. At least I hope. So that's a first little thing I wanted to share because I saw the request coming in for secrets. Like, what can I say really quickly?
Yeah, no, it's good to have little details like that because they often don't make the the big release. They're not exactly going to put that in the keynote, are they?
Oh yeah, exactly. And it's the same with this release. I mean, this release with After Effects is certainly not one where you can go like visually show me a new feature. There's not too much visually to see, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I couldn't care less because the main feature that is new to this release is speed, and that is something that, I mean, literally everyone that is only semi-professional using After Effects was requesting it for years.
Mm-hmm.
So did I, so did you, so did literally everyone that I know. And it's not that the After Effects team is not listening. You must understand that the After Effects team is the development team is not like, it's not like 100 people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're just human beings like we are, and they are out there trying to make the best possible application that they can, for their, for their own desire to make something good. Just as we desire to make beautiful images and videos and animations, their desire is to make the software as good as possible within their possibilities. And so there goes a huge thank you to the team, because they really made a fantastic version. It's probably the fastest After Effects in the last, I don't know how many years, like 10 years or so.
That's great.
And before we do all that, I have prepared a little video that Tim can play shortly, which is a screen recording from my Mac Pro from yesterday, and you can see we are rendering out the animation that we have prepared here for Adobe Live. So this is something that Tim has to do on a weekly basis, and this is an animation that it's not overly complex. I mean, it has a lot of shadows and shape layers and some footage elements and typography and expressions, and so it takes quite a while. It is a 15-second animation. As you can see, we'll speed it up in a second. Again, I've screen recorded that on my Mac Pro system that has 16 CPUs. And I was always frustrated that because it only used so little of that massive power that sits in those machines. And now you can see the speed up, because actually it will take around, I'm not sure what the final number was. It will be around 3 minutes 40 something or 3 minutes 50.
Right.
You'll see that in
this is the old version, right?
This is the old version. This is the After Effects 21 version.
Yeah.
So again, 3 minutes, it stops at what? 3:43. There it goes, right? So 3:43 for 15 seconds. I mean, 3 or 4 minutes doesn't sound like much, really, but let's jump into the 2022 version. So After Effects 2022. This is the latest and greatest splash screen for the latest After Effects version. And I'm doing this exact same. It's the same file. I'm also emptying the cache. I also emptied the cache for the other version as well. Rendering out a ProRes 422, which is the new default high quality setting. Rendering on the same machine, to the same desktop, the same file format. And here you can see that I'm purging the cache, so there's nothing in the cache, because I'll mention that in an instant why it is important to do that. But as soon as it starts rendering, you can also see that it has a visually completely redesigned render queue, and also an indicator that shows you what is happening. And it's rendering frames simultaneously. And this is not sped up at this point, because
I was going to say that was running very smooth.
Exactly.
Just in the render.
It is already almost 1/3 through, and I even switched on the activity monitor, where you can see all the 16 CPU cores, not idling, but pretty much being not maxed out, but very close to maxed out, because I have set up the application to leave some CPU power to other remaining apps. And it's just flying through this. So I think it will stop at around 50 or 51 seconds. And now it's done. So we are coming from 3 minutes 43 to 51 seconds.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like much. Well, it is a lot, but you have to interpolate that. So let's do the math here. So that's we're discussing, like, what is it? It's more than 4 times. It's less than 5 times. So it's 4.5 times faster, roughly, I would say. So let's just say 4 times.
Which makes all the difference. And there's love for the After Effects developers in the chat. Nice little love letter to them earlier.
Yeah, we should let them know. I was just emailing to one of them yesterday and saying congratulations to this release. And they're not finished. They're not finished.
They must be pumped on what they've done, because to get those types of speed increases, like a 4 times speed, just by installing new software, like that is pretty good. And I think something else that we're also, I know both of us are very excited about, are the new M1 Macs, because After Effects isn't M1 supported yet. And so when that comes around, because we discovered last night, we both ordered the same MacBook Pro.
Yes.
With the M1 Max. So yeah, that's going to be blazing fast.
Yeah,
when that comes around.
I have my fingers crossed. I mean, the expectations are big. And again, they didn't stop. I mean, the After Effects beta is out that is supporting the M1 already, so you can download it now and play with it and test it. But yeah, just to give it some context, some realistic scenarios. So what we do in our studio is usually when we try to strategically do our lunch breaks when we have something ready to render. It's either a preview for us internally or a preview that we'll send out to the client. So ideally you have that 30 to 60 minutes, depending on how long and extensive your lunch break is. So let's say 1 hour max. And let's put it into context. So let's say we have a four times speed up. So let's say a composition will take you 4 hours to render in the old version. A 4-hour render is an overnight render. I'm not going to block my machine during a workday for 4 hours. It's just not happening, right? So a 4 times speed increase means 1 hour. So that is definitely something that is manageable within a lunch break, right? So imagine having something that
clients.
Yeah, don't tell. Yeah, don't. But you know, I mean, this shows you the scale of what we're talking about and how much it helps you to get stuff done faster. And let me dive in here and show you directly what is happening. A little bit more of a deep dive now on what is happening internally and behind the code or behind the user interface. So the core has been rewritten, you know, to make use of all the power. It should have been this a while ago, but unfortunately, you know, technology is complex. So we're happy that it is now. And what is happening here, it's showing me blue and green, which is technically the cache. So green is what is in the RAM and blue is what is on the disk. But given that disks are so fast, almost as fast as RAM, it's almost the same effect. Yeah. So this has been cached before, but let me go ahead and purge all the cache that I have here. So this will delete the 100 gigabytes that have accumulated in the last couple of minutes or hours while I was working on this. You will see the green and the blue bar will be gone, and there is only one green dot which reflects that single frame. And here's another thing that is new. If I don't do anything, you can see that green line growing. So while I'm talking and explaining stuff and doing emails or whatever, After Effects makes use of the open composition and the power that you have, because it's rendering that composition in the background, and it's called speculative rendering, which again is something that helps you to speed up your workflow so much. Because how many times do you find yourself working in After Effects, but then quickly jumping into an email or quickly looking something in the browser or going for a coffee or talking to a coworker, and then all while this before the machine was idling, right? And now you can make use of that time, and you get back to your computer and it plays back smoothly because, it's been rendered. So you can play it back and you can scrub and everything. And that's also another great feature that is there that helps you to be more and more effective. So that's a great thing to do. And let me just.
I love how like with the rendering, they've obviously done testing and whatever, but the first thing I noticed when seeing that was that it was growing both forwards and backwards, because when you're editing, you don't know like where you're going to go with things. So it's like, well, you might go here, you might go there. And it's preparing you for all eventualities. And I think that's one of the things that I take away from seeing these fast export speeds. It's not just about the export. Like there's mentioned in the chat of Sandrine saying, it's great that, with faster performance can now have the satisfaction that you're essentially billing for your lunchtime as lunchtime. Like you are, you have to eat as a creator. If you want to hire me for the next week, I've got to eat during that week. So being able to actually take your lunch breaks and those types of things like that's great with export speeds. But what gets me excited is the performance improvement as you're editing, getting into that creative flow. As soon as you get any sort of stutter on things, my mind switches off and I can feel it sometimes. Like I just Command Tab and I'm in a different application because something has stuttered. And I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I searching for this that just popped into my head? Whereas if I didn't have those stutters and those breaks on things, I would get into the flow and I would I'd probably finish videos a lot quicker, to be honest. And so that's, I think, where the key performance is so powerful. But it's really hard to explain that because everyone's different. Everyone's got different workflows. So export times is the easiest way to just say, hey, it's fast.
It is, and let me show you a few things that you should watch out for when you're setting it up. So you can all set it up here under memory and performance. So you go in there, and then you will see the preference, and you can disable multi-frame rendering for whatever reason. You can also specify how much RAM you have to reserve to other apps, and again here you can disable it, and you can also mention how much CPU speed you want to have reserved for other applications. So I have it between 10 and 20%, because sometimes I do things in parallel. Mm-hmm. So make sure you have a little bit of headroom for other stuff. So that is certainly good to do. So you have to watch out for that. You can also specify the time that it takes for the speculative render to kick in. It's set to 8 seconds at this point, but you can of course change it. But another thing I will also point out is if I go into this comp, into this animation, and if we have some time, I'm happily walk you through our toolkit that we custom designed for Adobe to make sure that all the Adobe Live assets look good, as well as work nicely and are easily edited. But as you can see here, it's rather complex, and it's all nested compositions and so on. So sometimes you want to dissect your composition to find out what's bogging down the system, what does take so long in terms of actual performance. And then there's also a new feature, which is the composition analyzer. So basically, you can also show this column here, and this is render time. Okay, so render time is a brand new feature that allows you to actually see how long do certain things take. Okay, cool. So
whilst talking about render time, actually, I'm wondering if we can jump onto a topic about external rendering, and I'm wondering with these times. Sorry, just it was on top of my mind. I was like, I want to know the answer to that as well.
You mean Adobe Media Encoder?
No, so with like external offsite rendering, there was a question in the chat of can you do long rendering in-house, like with the render farm, and would you use that for these like smaller things? How does the connection work?
I mean, there's tools that you can, what was it called? There's a tool that you can use, the Adobe Command Line Renderer. I think it was BG Render on AE Scripts that you can use to launch multiple instances on your same machine.
Right.
I don't think there is a way to connect multiple After Effects versions via network to create like a render farm in that essence. I have never outsourced an After Effects render ever, because I mean we're talking minutes or hours in the worst case, whereas with 3D renders and CG renders we're talking days or weeks. So that is certainly something that shall be outsourced, depending on the length and the scale of the composition. And speaking of this, maybe I can show you a completely different composition here, and this is a little bit of a tease here, because I haven't shown this really publicly before, but I've probably mentioned it that I'm working on a Star Wars fan film, and it's getting there. It's close to the end. I'm about 90% done with the VFX. Nice. So it's a lot of use with filmed stuff, in camera effects, but also a lot of green screen and a lot of After Effects and Cinema 4D for all things CG, right? So here you can see that scene here, and this is how it looks. So this will cache the file here, and I'm showing you this because it's more of a realistic example of completely different ratios in terms of how fast a certain layer renders. So here you can see it goes from the fastest is brighter, it's greenish, it's 39 milliseconds, and the slowest is 3 seconds and 12, so 3.1 second, right? So 3 seconds and 1 millisecond, and it varies, and you can.
Question here: is that a CG Stormtrooper, or is this is live action film and then effects around it, right?
That's a good question, and it's I take it as a compliment because you can't tell if it's a CG or not. It's a real stormtrooper. Let me go through the layers here, and then you will see how it looks completely without anything. So this is the footage. So this is real smoke coming out of a prop blaster.
Nice. Not a vape then.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. A friend of mine, Max, he had this idea of bringing his vape and blowing some steam into the barrel, and then when he lowers the blaster, it will pull the smoke down, and we keyed that with Primate Keyer, and it just works wonders. And there you can see how that works. And if I turn that off, you will see how this looks. And then and this shot here, actually, this sequence here is the 3D part of it, and this takes so long because it is an unsupported effect for multi-frame rendering. So if I go into this layer, you will see how this is built. And again, I'm using this on my laptop, and it's native 4K everything. So this was taking. I didn't render this with the GPU render, so this took about 3 hours to render as a single frame in 4K. With Redshift, it would have probably been 20 minutes or so, or 10. But anyway, it is what it is. So this is the layer. This is the ambient occlusion. So all built, modeled in Cinema 4D and textured with Substance Painter, by the way. Nice. And here you can see that I have Lumetri color for brightening it up a little bit, but also the depth of field effect, and it's using this information. So it's layering the depth information. So black is the closest and white is the furthest away point. Mm-hmm. And you can specify with the depth of field, you can specify where you want to have the focal point, right? So if you go ahead and want to select a different focal point, let's say you want to focus on the background, you click on the background, and then it will create the focus, hopefully, if it's not crashing, on the background. But one thing that you will notice is that it has the yellow exclamation mark, which technically gives you the information if you hover over it. Yeah, maybe. Let me see if I made it to crash. Maybe it will recover. So this is a rather old plugin. Unfortunately, it has not been updated in a while, but it's still, in my opinion, one of the best depth of field plugins because it gives you that nice little bokeh effect. And
it looks great. People loving it as well. It's incredible, like, skills and effect to it, and just flexibility. It's a shame, obviously, you're doing this on a machine that you wouldn't normally be working on, and with an unsupported version, but still.
Now you can see that the focus is shifted. Now I'm focusing on the background, then this is out of focus. So let me undo that really quickly and show you the rendered shot, because then we don't have to worry about this bogging down the machine so much. So here you can technically see it, how it looks. Nice. Stuff is blinking in the background. And for something that is as complex as this, it really helps me. And this is also a little teaser on how it will look like. But I don't want to spoil too much. But going in here, this can really help me to dissect why it is taking so long. And what I can do is I can go ahead and I can always create a proxy from this, for example, right? So I can render out either, do a manual proxy, like render it out as a ProRes of my choice, or specify it to be a proxy layer in After Effects. So that will speed up my workflow. And I have done that before, so we don't have to wait for the render to finish. So I have it rendered in here. I called it Proxy, and it's a 422 ProRes file. So what I can do is I can take that and put it in here and hide that layer. And now you can see it is gone from, I don't know how many seconds it was, 3 or 4 seconds, to 73 milliseconds. And now I can just, click play, and this will render quite quickly while keying live, while doing all the effects live. So it's quite intense.
Is there a more seamless way of doing the proxy workflow like there is in Premiere, or is that something that's not really in After Effects?
Well, yeah, you can always go to composition, and I haven't done this with a manual way forever really, because I always do it just rendering it out and putting it in. But you can you can create proxies. I just need to find where it was, to be honest. I haven't used this process in a while. Let me see, right click, blom blom blom, reveal, create,
it'll be in there somewhere.
Let me check this out. Create proxy. There it is. It is under file. Okay, so when you do that, when you create a proxy, what happens is this will jump into the render layer. It will go into the render queue, and this will allow you to set up the proxy. This will take a while until it processes it. But when it does, you will see that you can specify also the output module. But as soon as it's linked as a proxy, you can also click a button, and this will then undo the proxy setting. So you can technically go back and forth.
Nice. So you can like toggle full res and low sample. Yeah. Nice. Very cool.
Let's go ahead and let's try that again. File.
So on a scene like this, I know you can't show the whole thing.
Here you go.
How long would you expect to be exporting whatever you're creating?
So these shots, they range from 2 seconds to 5 seconds, and I've been waiting between 3 minutes and 20 minutes for a render to finish. And that speed up is crazy, going from 20 minutes to like 5 minutes, and from 5 minutes to literally under a minute or just a minute.
And then to give context to people who may be unaware of things, how many times would you likely be sending this to review from a client, for example?
Well, I mean, for this, obviously there's no client. It's just me and my my desire to create beautiful imagery and a cool story. But as for the other project, for the Adobe Live project that we created, it was a constant between 5 and 20 times a day. Render it out, like constantly iterate, change something, go back to it, render it again. It's definitely multiple times a day, and if you add that up, and
you're losing hours.
Yeah, exactly. You save 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and 5 minutes there. It's already 15 minutes. That's being home 15 minutes earlier or having 15 minutes to do something else. That's a huge time saver.
Yeah, I don't know if we can stress that enough, but just on the sheer like mental take it has on you as well. It's your brain has to stay active. It's like an athlete has to stay warm. In between their 10-second sprints, they've got to stay warm for the next heat. Otherwise, you're not going to perform. You're going to pull a muscle. Well, you don't want to pull your brain muscle. So you've got to stay active on things, and it is stressful. So it's just such a welcome change seeing these improvements, and it can only get faster as well.
Absolutely.
Very exciting.
So yeah, that's about what I can share for After Effects. And one more thing I would like to add before we jump to what's new in Premiere is when you add something to the render queue, and this is also a tiny feature, but I quite like it. So you can specify notify when queue is complete, right? So that's crazy. So let me just do that right here, and I just want to do like a 5-second thing, so I can also explain what is happening. And by the way, also the high quality setting is set now to ProRes 422, going from the animation codec to a more modern codec, which is ProRes. And I click on notify me when queue is complete. So I click on render, and then you can see it live also. And you can also click on info, and it will show you how many concurrent frames are rendering. And this also gives you a visual indication, and you can open that up as well. That will show you a little bit more of info in terms of size and estimates and estimated and remaining time. And after it's done, I should be receiving a message.
And this just happens automatically because you're signed in on both devices, right? There's no
Yes.
setup involved. Yeah.
Yes. So on my watch, oh, well, I have the do not disturb mode now on, so I can show it. But it will pop up a message, a Creative Cloud app, saying like your render, whatever it's called, has finished. So you can go out and, you know, especially like,
finish your lunch, get back to the office.
Exactly. You know, it's finished already, so you have to get back. So that's a nice little feature because it uses the Creative Cloud as the messenger to distribute that info that it has been rendered. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I mean, those are huge updates. There was a question actually in there of just out of curiosity, what Mac are you using? You mentioned it was 16 cores, right?
It is, yeah. Over there is my main horse. It's the Mac Pro 2019 with two W5700s GPUs, 192 gigs of RAM, and the 16 core machine.
Nice.
And here is the 16 inch MacBook Pro i9.
Do you have any afterburners in there as well? Have you tried the afterburner?
No afterburner, no.
It'll be interesting to see how the new MacBook Pro that you get delivered, how it performs side by side, because I think it's going to be a shocker.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried, you know, because looking at how much the Mac Pro costs and how much a laptop costs, and, you know, like having this huge metal box sitting there and then this tiny laptop, and it probably will beat the Mac Pro in many regards.
Yeah. Well, I guess all we can say is we've been screaming for it for years. We can't complain.
Here it is now.
Yeah. Great, excellent stuff on After Effects. Should we jump over to Premiere Pro now? I guess that's everything covered for After Effects. Yep. Let me share my screen, and I think we should be good. And I'll also turn on the sound. Oh, there's an update to the audio device. Okay, maybe we can't do the audio. Well, that's a surprise, but hopefully we can see this. So I'm going to run you through the speech to text, and you're going to have to take my word for whatever it is that I'm saying in this video. So this is probably one of my favorite new features of Premiere in a long while, because it genuinely, again, going back to workflow, it genuinely has improved the sort of editing process of making things. So I've got a video here that I put out. You may have seen it on my YouTube channel. It's kind of like a short film as a bit of a love letter to travel and to all the aviation geeks out there who love planes and the process of it. And so with speech to text, I can take my sequence and I can have it auto transcribe the captions of what I'm saying. And so there are two major benefits. Actually, maybe there's three or maybe even more. So two major benefits when you're editing is if I was to transcribe it, and I've got this sequence here, let's see how long it would take if we do it live, but I do also have one that's pre-prepared. So this is a 3.5 minute video, and we're going to create a transcript, and we can choose which tracks we want to do. So I know that in this particular project, I actually only have any spoken word on audio track 1, which I've called main audio. I can designate the language. There's a few languages supported. In the future, I'd love to see translation happen. I think that would be huge. But I don't know when or how difficult that would be. We can also set an in to out point, but I'm just going to do the whole sequence here. And we can also recognize if there are multiple speakers that are talking. So for example, if you were videoing a podcast and you got a host and a guest and a couple of others, you can go through and you can enable multiple speaker recognition. You give them a name, and then that way you could easily jump to whoever's speaking and just search things better. But in this particular video, it's just myself with a voiceover, so we don't need any of that. So if I hit transcribe, what this is going to do is it's going to render the audio, and I believe it then does a low res version of it that then gets transcribed by Creative Cloud and then brought back into Premiere, and will then bring up the process. So we can see that this is going to take 2 minutes. That in itself is already so much faster than handing it to someone who's going to listen to your video, write out everything that you've said, and piece it all together. So that is huge. And we can just let that run in the background. But for now, let me go to one that has already been done. So
I have transcribed sequences manually, and it's like the biggest pain that you can have. Like list everything and typing it, and
it's so laborious. It's just I don't envy anyone who does that, unfortunately. So once it has transcribed and we've got this sequence here, and by the way, you need to be in the text panel of Premiere, and it's recognized the speaker name that I've given here. It then will play back through, and if I just play, I don't think you can hear that, right? Doesn't seem like it's coming through. No, I can hear that. But anyway, you can hear that as I'm speaking, there's a voice over here. We've got the I guess like the word selector, the cursor is going over our transcription, and we can see everything that we've said. And I have to be honest, with this transcription, it was very, very good. There was only 2 words that it got wrong. One of which was it thought I said stressors, but I said stresses. And the other one, I think, actually, no, that might have been the only word. Yeah, the other one in other videos, it often just spells names slightly wrong, but you can't fault it for that. It goes by what it hears and what is a common name. So we've got the cursor moving as we play, but we can also jump around and we can click onto a word and it would take us into the timeline of where that word was said. So for example, if you're doing a long edit, and this could be like a documentary film, or it could even be just you talking to a camera, for whatever reason, you may have multiple times where you've said the same thing. I'm definitely guilty of that in my videos. And I quite often have, the same train of thought that then goes through that gets broken, and I then say the same thing again, or I say it better. And if you're not careful, you can end up in your video edit having multiple of the same message. So by having your transcription, it's so much easier to see a timeline in general of everything than it is to see it visually, because obviously we can read many words faster than we can hear them. So I could actually search through here. I could search how many times do I say the word travel, because obviously this is a video about travel. And I can go down, and I think it says there are 6 mentions of it. And I can jump to each mention of it. And it could be, something else that you want to do. So say every time you mentioned, I don't know, a particular brand name or a particular something that had to have small text on the screen as a bit of a disclaimer. Those types of transcription helps really mean that you don't miss a single beat with these videos. So that is a huge thing on editing. You can jump around and you can easily get to things. But second to that is creating captions. So if we go on to our captions tab within the text file, and if I do, let's go back to our transcript and let's go, why is it not showing up? Oh, create captions, there we go. It was in the drop down previously. So create captions, so from the transcript, and you could also just do a blank one if you want to type it in yourself, but why would you want to do that? Choose your industry standards that you're going to be working with. And again, formats are different things. You can also preset styles. So this is remembering the styles that I'd previously created, but I'm going to leave it as none for now. Obviously, some settings on how long you want your captions to hold. So if you have a caption where you just say one word, is it going to just flash on the screen, or is it going to hold on for a minimum number of seconds? And if you want single lines or double lines, I quite like double lines. So we go create. It's going to create those captions. And boom, there we go. So you'll see that it's created this track, and I actually had one previously from when I did it before. Let's delete that one. So we've created a whole new subtitle track, and these are essentially like mogurts, like titles. They just sit on the screen. And so we can go and select any of these. We can go to Essential Graphics on Edit. And if we wanted to, we can adjust the position of various things and the sizing, the font. So let's go for the font that I use for all of my branding and thumbnails and things. Let's go for Ephra, medium. If I wanted to, I could increase the size. It's a little bit obnoxious. Find your different point. And once you've set whatever size that you want to do, so let's go for like this. And I think shadow's fine. Maybe let's change the color to, I'm gonna go for like a yellow. Might be a bit easier to read across most of these scenes. Man, finding a good yellow is hard. It looks a little bit muddy, but there we go. And now, if we go to our track styles, let's create a new one. And because I've called a yellow one before, let's call this one yellow again. And now if we go through to all our other subtitles, you notice that they've already copied across the styling that I've created, the sizing, the positioning. And if I change any of them, so back within our captions file, you see that as I play, it can auto scroll to the point of where things are. So we've got multiple things happening in various locations of the same thing. But if I make an edit to any of these, so if I select my caption here, so it could be that I actually wanted to, get rid of the comma. And let's say I want to put a semicolon. Let's be a little bit crazy here with the punctuation. When we update it with our captions, it also updates across into our captions. So one of the biggest worries that I had when first getting involved with this was thinking, am I going to break it? Am I going to, do something in one panel is not going to be updated? Another one, am I going to set one of them to yellow, export it, and realize that only one of them is set to yellow? So those types of things are all catered for, and it updates across into your captions. It didn't actually do it across on the transcripts. That's an interesting one. But from captions to on-screen captions is great. And so you can see already that this is great for accessibility of people wanting, to read this. You could take your transcript, export it out as its own file, send it off to someone else who may then go and do the translation and other things. Or if you wanted to, you can export it and just burn it straight into the video. So if we just do a straight export, you'll notice that I've got all my different settings that I'll use. So let's go for one of these. And I've not created my new presets yet for the new Premiere Pro. And if we scroll down to captions across, so we can create a sidecar file, which is going to give us a .srt, and that will be a separate file that you can use to plug into any software that allows captions to run alongside the video or upload to YouTube alongside with your captions. You could also burn the captions directly into the video, and that's where it will take into account all of your styling and everything like that. So again, that's great for platforms that you quite often watch things on mute. So for example, on Instagram, on Facebook, burning captions in can be a great way of doing that. And it's also a good way of branding your videos from video to video. But for me, I would use a sidecar file. And so when I export that then goes across with the video. You have your video on its own, you have the sidecar file. When you upload to YouTube, and I think I have this here, So let's go onto YouTube. And let's have a look at a video. Where is it? So this one. So when you go into your video, you have the option here for your subtitles. And you can import that sidecar file, and it brings across all of the text, all of the timestamps, which is brilliant. You don't have to go through and manually do it. You can make further tweaks on YouTube if you like. But it also brings across some of the styling functionality. It doesn't bring all of it, but you'll see that if you've set your text to be yellow, as is the case with this one, it will bring across yellow because it's decided that you obviously wanted yellow for a reason. And so there it is. An extra benefit for doing this on YouTube, so beyond accessibility and having more audiences able to understand your video, is you can have YouTube understand your video. Because when you upload video, all YouTube can really understand is what you've put in your description, what it is automatically trying to work out. They have very clever systems that can understand what's within a video, but realistically they still don't know the contents of the video that well. It's based on how you title it and what goes into it. If you upload captions, you're going to get direct information to Google and to YouTube to say this is what the video is about. And so having your captions in your videos can potentially boost your engagement with the search rankings, and having correct brand terms, put into searchable areas across YouTube. If it's not in the title of the video, it's in the captions of the video. And so there's just huge benefit and boost to do it. And it's just so quick and easy. If you can't tell, I really love the speech to text feature. It's making it, it's meaning that for every video that I upload, I can do captions very easily without having to either do it manually or pay, quite a lot for someone else to do it, or have YouTube automatically get it kind of right, kind of wrong. So yeah, that is a huge thing. I realize I've kind of waffled on quite extensively at that. Didn't get a chance to double check in with the chat, but I hope that's working well for people. I was
covering the chat a little bit here with Tim clearing up a few open questions, so it should be all good. Like you said, I mean, doing captions manually is such a pain, and having the options to do them both burned in as well as a sidecar file. I mean, we were just writing here in the chat back and forth about how helpful it is for both for accessibility, but also for for YouTube rankings. If you have a file that is, or a video or content that is properly transcribed with an external file that already shows YouTube and the algorithm in general that there is something that is rather more professional behind this, so the maker is rather more professional, so it will also give you you, like you said, the content of the video in the text form, but also will rank you higher. At least that's what I heard many times, because you have captions in the video.
Yeah, definitely. And one final update which just got a moment to speak about is just an update with the Lumetri Scopes. So when you're color grading, if you have your scopes enabled and you do the Vectorscope, which is this circular one here, now if we double click, we can zoom in to a bit more detail, which is a very useful feature to have. But also it's bringing with it some of the color of what this actually represents. That didn't autosave right as I double clicked. So to give you an idea of what this is actually meaning, for those who have no idea what this explains, it's essentially showing the saturation of your color and its position on the color wheel. So in the very, very center is white, and the brightness of that is the brightness or the strength of the signal. And then as it spans out, we've got all these different color signals that are happening. And then this particular line here is your skin tone line across all different skin types. It's the same level of red. And so if you can match up where you have your clusters of color to that line, or as close to, or as stylistic you want to make it. The Vectorscope is where you'll see how your color sits. So obviously we've got some very yellow things on here, and that is our subtitles. If I turn these off, that line disappears immediately. So yeah, it's just a visual representation, but for those who use this, they will appreciate double clicking at least is a very handy feature. Wow, we have flown through an hour during that time. Yeah, plenty of updates, mostly performance based. I think we can all agree, and I think performance as well is something that you're either passionate and excited to see, or subconsciously you feel the benefits of, and it just makes you happier. Either way, you're happier to have better performance. I think that's probably a way to describe it or think of it.
Cool.
Rob, are there any closing thoughts, comments, or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I was about to I have two more things actually.
Cool.
But I mean, we can wrap it up, but depends on how much time you have.
We've got time for bonus. Tim's in our ear saying bonus content. We've got time. Sometimes we get kicked off.
Says bonus content. Okay. Yeah, I mean,
always here
also
for bonus content.
Depends on the audience. I mean, I can share some some insights into the toolkit, how we set certain things up, to give you a little bit of a sneak peek behind the scenes on how this works, if you want, and also show you an extra little thing as we were talking about captions in audio.
Oh yes.
So let's do that. If I can share my screen again, Tim. I can then do this. Hang on.
It's going to come up on the screen. One more thing.
It should. So let's go here. Does that work? Yep. Hang on. Okay. I have this on full screen now. So do you see that? Oh, I have to share the screen. That's a good point, Tim. It always helps. All right. Here we go. Now you should see that.
Yep.
Good. So let me go in and do this full screen.
So there we go.
So we didn't talk about the mobile apps, and there's a tiny but still a nice feature. And while I heard about that feature, I was researching it, and I found, I don't know if it was Reddit or someone on the forums, someone requested for Adobe Capture, which is this app here, to be able to not only capture photos and videos, because if you go in here and you want to capture something, it is fantastic because you can capture materials, and here you can see how it looks. But you can also capture, fonts and shapes and looks, and it's all really, really cool. But what is new is having the option to record audio. So I can say that I want to record some audio here on my Adobe Capture app, and this should be transcribed. So I click on OK, and I click on this button here. Then what you can see now, it's also transcribing it on the phone. So you can then take this text and copy and paste it and put it somewhere, or just go ahead and save this file as Joe Stream. Okay. And this will be saved in my library, and this will be saved not as a compressed file, but as a high quality WAV file that is also pretty large. And then you can drag and drop that into your Premiere or After Effects projects if you like, because it's linked up to your library. Again, the captions are not saved with the WAV, but you can recapture it, or you can use the transcribe that was happening on location. And as we all know, all the phones have pretty decent microphones for the last few generations. I mean, they're just incredible. If you record audio, the audio quality is going to be really good. And you also have the option of the little button to enhance audio quality even more. And Joe and I were checking this out yesterday, and we were both surprised of how good it actually sounds. So this is something you should also watch out for, because it's there for you if you update the apps. Cool. All right, let's go. Let's go quickly to that here, which is our toolkit that we have created for Adobe Live, or for Adobe in that matter. So I think it's going to take about, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes, if that is cool. If there are any questions, feel free to ask them or give us a shout out.
Cool.
So this project has been commissioned to us earlier this year, and I was working together with a fantastic team. Kais Khalil was helping me on the design side to come up with this wonderful design. And my friend and colleague and coworker Max Iglesias was helping with all the back-end coding, creating all the fantastic things that are happening in the background to make sure that this is easily customizable. And let me show you what this means. So not only we had to create a new design, and we use this pill-shaped, rounded calypsos, as we call them, that are moving around, and basically they can contain either artwork or photos, and of course they have to be available for every tool and every color combination, and has to manage all sorts of photos. And Joe has a fantastic photo that works great with this setup, but there are also guests that don't have photos that work too well because they're very tightly cropped around the face and so on. So we have to be able to manage that. And the way we set it up technically is going to the Essential Graphics panel, and then we have a custom panel here that allows us to technically change any attribute. So we can say, okay, it's the German stream, so it will switch to live auf Behance, or if it's the French one, then it says en direct sur Behance, or English again. We can select the app. So let's talk about Photoshop, shall we? So we'll change the icon to Photoshop. And also we can select the style. So let's go ahead, and it can be a colorful style. So it's more like a casual talk, which is Adobe
I love
Creative
this
Cloud.
so much.
Or
this is exactly what I want to see more people doing all the time.
Well, it took us a couple of months, to be honest. I mean, it was a lot of work to get this working. And again, with all of the back-end coding and expression stuff, I'm nowhere as skilled as Max is, because I mean, he was doing, JavaScript and if and else, and I don't know what. I mean, it's quite insane. But it works really well. And you can tape, I don't know, you can say Emma, or you can say Tim, and when you hit enter, the name will be changed. And the good thing is, because there's so many formats, you have the Facebook. Let's click through that. So you have Facebook, which has a different format, obviously. So let's go out. So this is a almost 16:9 format. You have page 2 for Instagram, but you also have the story pages, which are formatted completely differently. And no matter what I change or where I change it, it will also always be reflected in any of them. So I have to do one click, and this will work. So it's quite nice. And as for and you can also specify how many speakers you have. So if it's only going to be Joe, or Joe with artwork, or 2 speakers, or 2 speakers with artwork, and this will carry through all of the compositions. And all Tim has to do is go into the render queue and click on render, and it will distribute all the images onto his saved specified location. Is that right, Tim?
Even if it's not even Tim doing it, you've still got to send it to Tim for him to press the button.
Yeah, well, I mean, Tim does it, and he does it very well. And we have this set up here as well, which again, we created this in order to make it streamlined as possible. So for example, with an image like yours, it's pretty good, because you can you have a lot of range there. But if it would be like a tighter crop, we can go in and do that.
Oh, nice.
And if we go in here, this will be like a tighter crop, but still it will use an effect that is, blurring and giving the color information of that image. So it's not like a hard transition. Actually, my image is not so great for this stuff, but still, actually, let's look at my pictures. So you can see that, it ends here, but you can easily go in here and create the fade and also manually go in and, you know, create the mask feather. And again, this will carry through all of the images. And you know, if you have more, you can always replace them. So we have little placeholder images in here that you can use and replace. And this is the way you can set up multiple ones. And this carries also through the animation as well. So no matter if I change the color, the topic or the names or whatever, you know, let's go to one speaker. The animation is still live and it's doing all this thing.
Yeah, this is brilliant. There's a lot of love for that in the chat. It's yeah, I mean, it's kind of similar with my own titles that I created. I went down a very, very deep rabbit hole with JavaScript and expressions and, you know, coding that all up. And this is taking it many, many steps further, which is a lot of fun. So I think the thing that's really standing out to me is just the options of, you know, is this a one guest, two guest, one guest, one artwork, two guest, one artwork? Like those types of little things are great details, which just make it so much easier.
I can show you that, you know, like this is like one of the comps actually. So I open up all the parameters that have been changed. So you can see what's happening here, you know, so I can scroll like for a couple of seconds. So yeah, you can tell
at those layers.
Yeah, you can tell that there's a lot happening behind the scenes, and which actually shows you the power of After Effects. And if you have a skilled,
for sure,
if you combine skilled designers, skilled animators, and skilled coders or people that know both, you know, and working, for example, with Max, I mean, you know, you can collaborate so nicely because, you know, you can complement each other with things that one person knows and the other doesn't, and vice versa. So you can benefit, the project actually benefits from that, and it shows you the power of what you can do with these tools combined with a skill set. So making it a life of whoever has to do this. I don't know if it's, do you still do those, Tim, or is it someone else? You, okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's a little bit of a sneak peek behind the scenes of how the assets are and have been created.
Amazing. So much there, and obviously we are limited by time, so we can't run through everything, but I think the main theme of today with going through everything has all been about improving workflows and how the software is doing that for you. And I think that is kind of the main message that I'm taking away from the release notes of new software. So thank you everyone for joining today. Thanks for joining in with the chat. Sorry we haven't been able to engage as quick with the chat because we were trying to run through as much as we can in limited time. Thanks, Rob, for showing through some of your work and yeah, some sneak peeks, some teasers with the Stormtrooper. And we look forward to seeing you all sometime soon. I believe we will be back, not us personally, but Adobe Live will be back on Monday at 12 o'clock. So thanks for watching, everyone. We'll catch you at the next one.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Joe. Bye.